Right, okay, here we go. For this coronavirus extraordinary episode of Light on Leeds, I have Abi Whistance, who's remotely connected to speak to me. Hello, Abi.
Hi, you okay?
I'm very well, thank you so much for coming along.
It's all right.
So, Abi, I think I first heard about you with To the Local. Can you explain a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, oh God, it's been a big old journey with it. I started a podcast series, not too dissimilar to what we're doing right now.
Ah,
But it was more kind of like very heavily music based, interviewing specifically like musicians and things like that from Leeds and West Yorkshire. And called it To the Local after the Blur lyric. Jerry's like, To the Local, that. So called it that, thought it'll just be a podcast series. And then made kind of like a Facebook page for it. And then it just kind of went from there, really. This was May last year, I want to say. Yeah, May 2019. And I kind of set up a website for it. And then that kind of went into doing video interviews with bands and musicians all across the UK. And then it kind of grew into kind of producing articles for a specific website. And then it just kept going and going. We were putting on gigs. We were doing kind of like music content on YouTube, kind of Instagram TV. And now it's this kind of fully fledged company or like PR company that I guess in some ways is slightly significant, which I never really thought it would be.
that's great because I think I've noticed you during sort of lockdown, and I
Yeah.
was thinking about all the bands in Leeds who, young bands who are starting out, and then this big huge pandemic happening, and it was great to see through your video production be able to see bands even if they like had individual members in their own homes. I thought that was like a really great, lovely idea because it felt like you were still sort of part of live music in a way.
Yeah, because it was really weird for me because my biggest kind, I had other people writing articles for me and I kind of dabbled in music writing, but I kind of didn't really want to just do that. So my biggest part to play in the company was kind of going to gigs, doing podcasts from gigs, live podcasts from gigs, which was a nightmare. Kind of filming interviews with bands, video interviews or audio interviews that we'd then put in like radio shows and stuff. So when kind of lockdown happened, my side of things was really difficult because I didn't really know what to do. I couldn't go to gigs, I couldn't meet musicians, I couldn't do my radio show because I didn't have the equipment at the time. And our kind of way of tackling that was right. Well, let's see if we can keep producing music and keep producing all this content, but for kind of social media and things like that, because people are heavily relying on their phones and social media to give them something to do over lockdown. And
Yeah.
I think we kind of managed to do that. I mean, we started the Instagram TV series, um, which was like band takeovers, where we had bands take over our Instagram for an entire 24 hours, which was very chaotic. And then we also, oh God, some of the stuff that came out of the band takeovers was an absolute nightmare, but it was so fun. And then, yeah, we did the little mini festival as well because we were planning on doing an actual festival and then couldn't. So we ended up doing an online festival. We got loads of really great bands from across the UK to play, which was brilliant.
And what a great achievement as well, especially during that such a difficult time. I imagine a lot of bands are very grateful to be involved in something like that.
Well, yeah, we tried to get as many kind of local musicians on board. We also had a few kind of bigger names like Bull played, who are obviously from, I want to say Sweden or something like that. A lot of I kind of have to give credit to the guy that is my right hand man for To the Local stuff, Matt Bond, Matthew Bond, who he's the festival was very much his kind of baby. It was kind of using my face and To the Local, but I feel like he was the one who kind of curated the event and helped me out where I needed it. But he put on an absolutely brilliant festival, and I kind of like helped him along with it. But it really is down to Matt more than it was me.
And can people still see that? Is it still up somewhere?
Yeah, so we there was a festival by Nice People magazine, which is that magazine in Leeds, and they did all of theirs on Twitch, which was absolutely fantastic. But I wasn't sure how that would work in terms of kind of watching it back. So we decided to do it as kind of give each band a slot as you would at a festival, but then upload those things scheduled onto YouTube. So all of the videos are still on YouTube. You can still access all of kind of like the festival bits and pieces, but we did it that way instead of kind of live streaming it so people can still access it.
Did you find that whole process interesting, working out how you would do things? You know, because through this whole thing, everyone's had to find different ways, haven't they, to communicate or to get out material. Did you find that was it hard, or did you find it interesting to learn all the new skills and new technology?
I don't think I've ever been so stressed in my life. I'm not a very technological person. I can work my way around a radio studio, but other than that, I'm kind of at a dead end. And to coordinate all of these bands, and we were kind of doing it where we needed all this kind of graphic side of things. My friend Adam Robert Lloyd, who's a graphic designer from Birmingham, he rebranded to the local completely over lockdown, and then he also did the festival branding and everything like that. So it was kind of organising that and then being like, right, what do we need? We need an intro, kind of like an animated graphic intro that is different for all of the bands. We need videos edited together because we did interviews with all of the bands and then they recorded themselves kind of 3-4 songs from home or a set, essentially. So it was like, do we splice those together? Like, how would I do that? Do I have the software to edit this? We also need all these posters and promos. And we ended up adding on a secret act about 3 days before we'd even kind of sorted out all the rest of the stuff, because we ended up adding RTO on right before, because we really wanted them to play. But it was an absolute nightmare, I won't lie to you. And then I think I was up till about 3 a.m. on the day of the festival, making sure that all of the videos were fine. My laptop kept crashing and oh god, it was awful. But on the day, everything ran so smoothly, and everyone loved it. We managed to raise a fair bit of money as well for the NHS and for Music Venue Trust, which was quite nice. But oh god, the thought of having to do that again at any point would kill me.
Well, you've got all the skills now, so you'll be fine next time.
Oh god, I hope so, because we want to put on a real festival next year.
That'd be fantastic.
At the minute. But oh god, I'm better in person than I am with technology. It's not my friend. So hopefully things will be easier and less stressful if we actually do a real live festival and not all online.
Oh, well, I'll definitely keep my eye out for that, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you.
So you're also a DJ on LDC Radio.
I am indeed.
And how did you get into that?
Really weird, actually. So I was kind of like a bedroom DJ, made mixes, had done a few little slots across Leeds and things like that, but never really done a massive amount. I'm kind of new to it. I decided at the beginning of 2020 that I wanted to properly learn how to DJ, and kind of did so over lockdown and over the few months before that, and did a few bits and pieces. And then LDC launched, because I'll kind of give a bit of background information, however boring and insignificant it may be. So all of the radio stations in Leeds and across the UK really tend to be owned by parent companies. So you had Bauer Media and Global own, I think, Heart and Capital, and then Bauer Media were all kind of like the smaller stations like Dream FM and Radio Air, which is obviously now just closed. I think it closed last week. But basically, they are dissolving all of these local stations and making them all into Greatest Hits Radio, which is, you know, take it how you will. I'm not very happy about it. I don't think many other people are, but it's one of them. So LDC launched and are kind of filling that gap where Radio Air have closed. And I always thought that was quite interesting. And they're now the only other station other than BBC Radio Leeds that has a licence to broadcast across the entirety of the city.
Wow.
So I was writing an article about that and about Bauer Media and about the closure of Radio Air and stuff like that. I was freelanced by the Yorkshire Evening Post to write an article about it.
Lovely.
And I went for lunch with Daniel Tidmarsh, who is a DJ on there who normally does the drive time, but also kind of helped set up the station and runs the station, has been a DJ for a very long time. I sat down for breakfast/lunch with him, interviewing him about all of this, and he was talking to me about like CDJs and all of this kind of technical equipment. And he stopped halfway through and was like, "You probably have no idea what I'm on about. Sorry, like I don't want to use all of kind of like this lingo and you not know what I'm talking about." And then the subject of me kind of getting into DJing and being a DJ came up. And somehow what essentially was just an interview for an article became me now doing the morning slot of LDC Radio on the mothership. So didn't really expect it, didn't really go in knowing that's what it was going to become. But I then ended up doing the Funk and Soul show.
And are you really enjoying that?
I absolutely love it. It is so, so good. I've had a lot of good feedback. I get quite a few people tuning in now, which is always nice. But it's all my kind of music, and I can kind of go on, play whatever I want, have a great time for 3 hours every weekday, and just get to play my tunes, man. It's great. I love it.
I saw you saying, I didn't have a listen today because I was busy doing other things, but I have listened to you. I listened to you last week, and you were playing some really sort of I mean, I love funk and soul, but the stuff you were playing at, it was quite rare. A lot of the stuff I had never heard before.
Yeah, I'm really into my kind of like world music. So I play a lot of like Brazilian funk and a lot of French stuff and bits and pieces all across Europe, really. A lot of stuff from Portugal, that kind of thing, George Benjor, Buena Vista Social Club, obviously Cuba. But I really, really try and play stuff on the show that isn't well known, because I feel like you can hear kind of like the Fatback Band, you can hear Funkadelic, and you can hear Parliament anywhere.
Yeah.
But the stuff that's really niche, and I really have to dig through the archives and dig for gold on like Discogs and things like that.
And do you really enjoy that process of finding brand new tunes? Well, old brand new tunes, I suppose.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I found so I was doing it last night, and I found a collection called the Brazingles, which is a load of Brazilian funk music by a record label in Brazil. That I'm definitely going to be exhausting over the next few weeks.
I've made a little note of that just so I can have a little look up myself.
Brazingles, man, it's brilliant.
So you said you're a freelance writer, so you've done all sorts of writing for different things. You're a writer at Clash magazine. Can you tell me a little bit about Clash magazine?
Yeah, so I know. So again, this is kind of all through the grapevine. I got asked by Clash, a guy called Harry Ridgway, I think, who works for a company called Hanglands, who are like a PR company. They reached out to Come Play With Me magazine, which is another magazine that I work for, looking for a writer who knew a lot about Leeds and the music scene, who could write them an article about kind of Leeds in lockdown and the success of some bands during lockdown and kind of what's been going on during the coronavirus. And Tony from Come Play With Me and Andy kind of like, right, let me put you in touch with Abi and see if she can help you out, because she probably is your best bet. And luckily enough, I had a lot of free time, as did everybody else. And yeah, I started doing a little bit of freelance work for them. I wrote an article about the Leeds music scene and how diverse it is and how great it was to see all these bands producing stuff during lockdown. And yeah, I just ended up writing a piece for them, really, and hopefully have some more bits and pieces coming out soon. But I don't work a lot with them per se. It's just kind of as and when they need me, and it tends to be very Leeds centric.
Yeah, of course. And so you've also, in the same sort of spirit, written for the Yorkshire Post as well.
Yeah, so Yorkshire Post I've been writing for, oh God, since the first year of university, probably a few months in. I emailed Duncan, who is the music editor, Duncan Seaman, and he initially got back to me offering me a load of advice about, so I'd emailed him asking like, how do I get into music writing and all of this kind of stuff. Can you have a look through my work? Can you let me know if you ever want me to do anything for you? And he was like, do you want me to put you on a list of a bunch of writers, because we like the way that you write and we feel like you fit in, and we'll kind of send some gigs your way if you ever want to do gig reviews and things like that. And I just got into it like that, really, sent a friendly email and then ended up doing bits and pieces for them for quite some time.
That's great, that's brilliant. And you're also the head of music at Leeds Student Radio.
I am newly founded head of music at Leeds Student Radio, co-head of music with a girl called Tamsin. But yeah, I'm very excited for that.
And how does that work?
You tell me at this point, because I've got a meeting next week where I will find out exactly how it works. But essentially, I'll be co-running with Tamsin all of the music shows on LSR, which is kind of very exciting. I'll also be putting on a little festival or a little gig, all-day festival gig thing next year. Called Transmission, I believe, which is again brilliant. I get to choose the bands and the theme and everything like that, and just generally sorting things out for the radio, really.
It sounds like a very exciting time for you, Abi.
Oh, it's a very stressful and busy time, but it's also very, very exciting. I love my life, man.
So, Abi, I'm just guessing from your accent that you're not originally from Leeds.
No, I'm not. I'm from Birmingham.
and so, did you come here to go to university?
I did, yeah. I moved here Salford was my backup. Leeds was my number one. I only wanted to move here because I want to say because of the music scene, but that would be a big fat lie. Because of the music scene in the 80s, because one of my favourite bands is a band called The Wedding Present, who are actually from Leeds. David Gedge apparently lives relatively close to my new house.
Is that why you moved there?
I'll bump into him at the offie at some point, fingers crossed. But yeah, so I moved here because of The Wedding Present, essentially, which is a really sad, lame kind of thing to say, but
I don't think it is. I think that's commitment, is what it is.
Yeah, maybe. So, I still haven't met him, so.
So how long have you actually been living in Leeds then?
Oh, coming on about 2 years. So I moved up here. Yeah, no, exactly 2 years. Exactly 2 years now.
Wow.
Oh, God, that's fun.
So I think if you've been here for 2 years, you're qualified to ask the 3 questions that I ask every guest. So the first one is, what would you say is great about the city of Leeds?
So many things. For me, I feel like the music, coming from a place like Birmingham, I would say that the music scene is very bland. I'm going to get beaten down by everyone from Birmingham now. But I would say it's very samey. It's very heavily indie-centric. It's very kind of the twang. Never really left the city, which is fine. I really like the twang. I interviewed the twang. Great guys, great music. But everything since then has been very, very similar, very cardboard, kind of cookie cutter. Whereas you come to Leeds and you can kind of walk across Merrion Street, pop into all the bars or live music places, and there is something different there every time. I mean, when Verve used to hold the live music nights downstairs, that's where I used to go and kind of sit by myself with a pint, listen to the music, and every single week, even in between acts, there'd be something completely different. And I feel like it's quite rare that you'll get that anywhere else, really.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
I don't really think there's anything else or another place that I've ever been that's so incredibly diverse yet so small.
And if you had to, what would you say is something that is not so great about the city?
The buses, man.
I get that a lot.
I hate the buses here. So where I'm from, buses work slightly differently. So it's £2.40 no matter where you're going. It's never any more, never any less. You get on £2.40, job done, son. Whereas here, you have to tell people where you're going, and sometimes I don't know where I'm going. I'm like, I know the road, but I don't know what it's called. Yeah. So what am I say to you? And they're proper aggy with you sometimes. I'm like, listen, mate, I don't know my way around that well. And it's also like, I think it cost me like £4.70 for a day ticket today, and it was like £3.70 for where I needed to go the other day. Yeah. Outrage, man. £2.40 flat rate. None of this.
I totally agree with you. You need to write to somebody and get something done about it.
I will. I'll write an article in the Yorkshire Post about it.
And if somebody had been a resident of Leeds for a very long time, would you be able to suggest something to them that you would consider to be a hidden gem that they might never have heard of?
See, when you emailed me that question, the first thing that popped to mind is Wax Bar.
Yeah.
But I don't actually know if that's a hidden gem or whether I just didn't really realise it was there.
Yeah.
But I love that place. It's vinyl DJs. It's really intimate, really small. They've just opened again, I believe, like last week or the week before. I think they're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or there's some variation of 3-4 days in the week. But I went there, I think for the first time, probably about a year ago, maybe just over a year ago. And it's so lovely and it's so intimate. The music's great, the vibe is great, the beer's great. And I love it there. But I don't know if it's really that hidden or if it was just me. It's quite small, but I don't know.
I think I've heard of it, but I've not been. But yeah, you've convinced me, you've sold me. I'll have to go and have a look.
Music's great there, man.
And I always ask any guest if they know a Leeds-based band or musician, if there's a track that they'd like to have featured. I was sure that you definitely have a track with your background in music. And can you explain to me what track you've chosen and why you've chosen it?
Well, I know I've pre-chosen this track, and I sent you a message, but I'm actually now changing my mind. So sorry to mess you up.
No worries.
I was gonna talk about Mamilla, who are kind of like a jazzy, funky, soul-y band from Leeds, who released their EP Talk Less earlier this year. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play the track Talk Less. You know what? Scrap that. I want to play a band called Shaku, and they have a song called Scraps, and they're weird. And I think the song is about 7 minutes long. very overindulgent. They also released a record, I think this year or end of last year, and they're possibly one of my favourite bands from Leeds. So I've completely changed it. Mamilla are great, but we're going to play Scraps by Shaku, I think.
Fantastic. Well, you're totally within your rights to change your mind. I think that's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And what will
Sorry
you be doing with yourself for the rest of your day, Abby?
Well, I've got the rest of this melon to eat. I'm going to do that. I've got to send many an email. I might pop down to the pub and have an ale or two.
Yeah.
Because they've got some porter back on tap, so love that for it. I'm going to have a chill one, man. Tidy my room, chill out. I've got a guy coming to fix my light, so waiting for him to arrive and have a poke about the flat and fix all the things that are broken. I was at radio this morning, so I'm pretty tired.
Oh, well, I hope that you manage to get some relaxing time. I hope the man comes to fix your light before it gets dark.
Me too.
That'd be really useful. And thank you very much for coming along and speaking to me.
No worry, my pleasure. I've had a lovely time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm actually still here. I've just stopped it for the
I
thing.